have gone live.
Oh,
Alright, so I'm going to give it a little bit because I need to actually jump onto the chat on the app because I'm a pleb and I don't have two screens.
uh,
Oh no. Gotta love the fucking ads for Twitch now. Alright,
yeah,
so welcome everybody to the first podcast of this first podcast on this Twitch channel. We are actually currently still figuring out what we are going to be doing with this podcast, but today's topic is going to be video games and related items to it. So we're going to be going over devs and publishers, along with consoles, and some other few notes that we would like to hit on. If you are going to be following along in the chat, just let us know if you have any questions. On top of that, I would like to introduce the two people that I have with me today. First one is Mr. Nugget, also known as Fat Kratos, and a bunch of other names. And then the next person that we have on our list is Cash. Um, and from what I know, Cash, you have a Twitch channel yourself that you're getting back into?
yeah, I do.
Alright. Let me actually go ahead and bring that up. So, is it same thing as your Discord name?
Yeah, yeah, it's Cash Money 007.
Cash Money 007. Alright. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and drop that real quick. Cash Money 007. Take that. Copy it. So, where would you guys like to start off at for this? Because we have a couple of topics that we want to talk about. Um, some of them being about the AAA titles that have recently come up to the developers, and publishers of said games, and maybe single player versus multiplayer games. Where would you guys like to start off at?
That's a tough choice.
It is.
uh,
Probably start with the developers and whatnot, and then spring
Mhm.
into the multiplayer, single player debate because that one
that one's
it really splits in heavily with developers, different companies,
that is
and
true.
then the console versus PC debate steps into there too.
Yeah.
All right. Um. So developers and publishers is where we're starting off, right? Sorry.
We should also let the audience know that there could be a lot of cussing, especially with certain topics.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
my stream is already set to being a M-rated stream
mature
because
audiences.
yeah,
Nice.
Perfect.
I always do that because I have a tendency of being a swearer myself, along with the people that I usually stream with.
I mean,
Mhm.
no offense to people that have that allow their stream for children and whatnot. More power to them. But me, I like my use of the word "fuck" a little too much.
I think we all
Yeah,
do.
I'm shocked.
All right, there we go. So I already, so Cash, I just added you into the going live and into the co-streamers and streamers.
Sweet.
Um, so on the devs and publishers, one of our first topics that we talked about earlier and discussed earlier was pushing out promised games. Uh, Games that were promised to us but were kind of underwhelming would probably be where we could start off with.
Games that they tout as one thing and come out a complete shell of what it was supposed to.
Yeah, and believe it or not, I know exactly one game. Actually, couple of games that could easily fit under that title. Fallout
I
76
swear to
being
God,
one of them.
they am.
Fallout 76 is definitely one of those on that top of the list of one of the games that was promised to us and was hyped up and all this, but has not come out with what they promised. And I believe, Cash, you sent in that little link in about the no news for a whole month. Ow, shit.
Yes. Yeah, it's weird because I have friends who actually like that game, and some people are like, "Oh, it's really great, man," and they're having some fun with it. But the problem is, it could be more than it is. Not. It's just, oh well, there's no, oh, in the actual game there's like NPCs. In this game there's like little robot NPCs. Oh, cool. Like there, it's not like something you want to light on fire and throw at somebody. It's just it could be it just could be better, and especially since it's from Bethesda, who of course made Skyrim, the greatest RPG to some people ever created ever. But it's too bad. It really is. But I guess a lot of people didn't want it, and they're like, "Oh, you want this, don't you?" I don't know. Maybe.
So I've actually sat down and I played a good hour and a half of Anthem myself. I actually still have the disc for it, and I played it on PS4. And the one thing that I noted about the game itself is the fact that its servers are actually not that great. It has a tendency of being laggy, even on a PS4, which
Wait, as I say, are we talking about Anthem or 76?
We
wait,
Fallout both.
both
mean,
actually. It's
I know with
They
Anthem,
are, I
BioWare's
guess,
been quiet for the
loot
last month.
shooters.
Yeah, BioWare's been quiet about it for the last month. Fallout 76 has really stopped doing its updates. And both of them have issues with game servers. And it's a shame because there's a lot of potential that could be done with 76. It's just it's executed poorly. Like I don't see it as the game that was promised. And like Bethesda's been pushing their agenda with Elder Scrolls Online more than anything else recently from a lot of the updates that's come from them. They've
I
been
can understand why, because it's a cash cow, but and from what I've heard, ESO's not a bad game currently. Like when it started out, it was complete ass, but they've actually picked it up picked it up off the ground. But
hey
to me, it's
Nugget. How do we transfer servers for VCs?
oh, crap. I'm actually unsure on that.
Because I'm noticing that there is a little bit of a problem with the voice chat right now.
Tactic?
Because since you both guys are on the other side, so let's try that one.
For Central Time Zone.
Yeah, I had it set for Central. Transferred it over to West Coast servers, see if that actually helps out. Because you guys were cutting in and out once in a while.
Oops.
I don't know if that's
Yeah,
on my end or on your guys'
a little
end.
bit. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I think my Discord's rebooting.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, mine just did, I think too. Yep. It should be good now, hopefully. Yeah, we're all talking like rolling.
Yeah, sorry about that. So
Editing.
So on 76 also, like, on top of their game, its system, the crafting and stuff like that, I don't know how I feel about their crafting system and their whole entire system for 76. It's kind of based off of Fallout 4, but at the same time, they kind of did it in their own in a new way. I don't know. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't. I only know people who have played it, so I don't. I didn't actually play it myself. There's actually a video out there of some guy who got mad at just he couldn't return his pre-order and he got upset. He started attacking the store and it's pretty ridiculous,
Oh
but
yeah, that was
uh,
another downfall of Bethesda right there was the whole entire not being able to return Fallout 76.
mhm, it's crazy.
And I didn't understand what their ploy was with that.
Maybe they can return it now. I'm not sure, but places like GameStop are supposed to have a 30-day policy, so they should uh they should be able to take it back. But with that video, that guy, I guess he just couldn't take it back. But, it's these people's faults for ordering it and buying into the hype, which seems to be very dangerous nowadays.
mm, yeah, there's still no word on people being able to return the game and getting refunds for it.
Oh wow, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's something that they're not actually allowing still. Uh, hey Noja, how are you doing? Thank you for tuning into the stream. Uh, so, uh, are we gonna want to touch on to Anthem right now? But also,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny because Anthem is it's just another online game like Fallout 76, and you play the beta of it and you're just like, oh, this is kind of cool. All right, has nice graphics, got that Frostbite engine, and then you start playing it and you're like, oh, this is nothing really special. And now, of course, that these articles are now coming out like, oh, there hasn't been any word about Anthem for updates for I don't know how many, a month or so, and that's terrible for people. Me and uh, Nugget over here, we know somebody who bought the game and put in about over 100 hours in it. Yeah, and he should get a medal for that. Huh? Don't you think, Nugget?
Honestly, yeah, Driz was pumping in just hours and hours into that game, gearing, grinding, playing, and it's just I don't know what they were trying to shoot for.
Yeah, I
Whether
don't.
it was something unique, but it just I don't know. It didn't seem very. What's the right way to put it? Didn't seem like it was bringing something new to the table.
No.
and also Anthem was another game that I tried to do a pre-order for it through Origin, right? To get
Hmm.
the Anthem Legacy thing for $84.99 and stuff. And I paid for it, and I never got any of the perks for pre-ordering. I didn't even get the open beta key,
Mm,
and I paid Origin $85 for that game, and I still can't play it on the PC.
it's lame.
Yeah,
And
see that kind of thing is just that's a pain in the ass.
so I got it for PS4 for $50. Actually, I think it was $45 because somebody returned it, and I bought one. And what I noticed, first thing I noticed about the game is it had all this hype to it, uh, with all the new or with different javelins and different kinds of weapons that you could use, yada yada yada, all this kind of standard stuff. And first thing I noticed is the game itself kind of is repetitive with its quests that it gives you or the missions. It's kind of gives me a Destiny feel, like really hardcore original Destiny feel.
Yeah, even when you play the beta, um, it's the same. It just doesn't do anything new. I don't understand that. I know Bioware has changed, but if they really wanted to start having people have faith in them again as a developer. uh, just add in relationships. Why is it that when you're in the town, at least I'm sure it hasn't changed since beta, nobody feels scared and so on, but yet they're protected by this barrier, and I guess everything's okay? There should have been an interesting story or relationships. It just didn't feel like, even when you played the beta, that there really was much substance there. They just, the story it could have been just better, and there could have been relationships and things that was great about Mass Effect. You could have just put that kind of stuff in, and it would have been a different type of loot shooter instead of basically like a not as good version of Destiny, or graphically looks even nicer, I guess, but it could have just been so much more from the quest, the things. There was one I remember, there was like a puzzle. You had to do the colors, and you had to turn them a certain way, and the color had to match. And it's like, oh, that's kind of cool, I guess. The combat's nothing special. The flying, I thought was just pretty awful. Like your legs start moving when you're flying. It was okay.
The overall execution of it seemed kind of rushed and a little bit poor, in personal opinion. The storyline, as you were saying, it's there, but it's not actually affecting the environment itself.
Right.
It
So
feels almost lackluster.
you got this storyline that you've crafted, and then when you start playing the game, the storyline isn't reflecting the actual town, or the town that you're in, the last keep or whatever it's called. I can't remember it because the storyline itself really didn't impact me that much when I was playing through. It kind of was just
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, there's story elements. Okay,
Yeah.
you got this.
Also,
Oh, my bad.
no, man, it's fine. Go ahead.
You have this whole entire. Oh yeah, we have all these scrappers that are on the outside, and we got this wall to keep them out. But our original protectors, the people of the javelins, they used to protect us, and then they failed. All right, cool, nice storyline. But the way that you're portraying the freelancers doesn't show that they have a negative relationship with the NPCs. They kind of just brush you off, yes, but the freelancers are supposed to be like people that failed or were part of the original people that protected them. And if they failed doing their protection, you would think that the NPCs would have been just scoffing, spitting, and kind of like having a horrible opinion on the players.
More like a go fuck yourself than hi, how are you?
Exactly. But you don't get that. You get people that just act neutral, or just like, here's my items, come and buy them. It's just the storyline does
it,
not reflect the game itself, the gameplay.
it's just, well, I'm sure it doesn't. And it's weird because BioWare has always been connections, like their games from Knights of the Old Republic to Dragon Age Origins to Mass Effect. One of the most interesting things about their games have always been connections and relationships, and how they make them matter. And Anthem could have put in something like that. And then the title Anthem. I'm sorry, but that's just asking to be made fun of. It just is.
They could have been a bunch of different things with the actual game itself.
Mhm.
I like the idea of it being a kind of loot shooter like it is, but it's not a grinding loot shooter. It's more, you go out, you do this one mission, you do this free roam, you explore, and you get stuff. Which, similar to Warframe in that aspect, like you can do specific missions or do like free roaming out in like Plains of Eidolon or the Orvalis, and just explore and find new things and collect crafting materials. That is one of its good points, but at the same time, it's a drawback to the game itself because it's not focusing on the pressure that you need to rebuild the relationship with the actual NPCs. which, as you were saying, Mass Effect and Dragon Age and all those other games, BioWare focused on the relationships between the player and the NPCs.
Well, I
Yep.
mean, even in Dragon Age, if I remember rightly, wasn't it that the actions and shit that you do in the first game are even reflected and affected in the next game?
Mass
If you
Effect does
play it
the same
on,
exact thing too.
yeah, like that's a you don't see that in games very often or anymore. Like the fact that they touch back in on like, oh yeah, you were an asshole in this case, blah blah blah, or this person was an asshole and that was your character in the previous game.
Kind of
That's
reminds me of what is it?
that really keeps the immersion of it going.
The Metro series. The first one and the second one, your choices at the end of the game kind of dictated what
Affect how
happened.
the game ends.
Yep. Which I love that aspect of games, and this game I thought you would be able to do something like that, and it was just kind of like, what is the point of the game itself? Because it's just honestly, it's a free roam Destiny mixed with Warframe, essentially with the javelins. I thought it'd be something similar to those two games or add on to them, and it's just kind of been a letdown.
Which I understand a part of it. We can't like solely sit there and blame BioWare alone, like, oh, how dare they type deal.
Yeah, that is.
Because they are a small development company tied to a bigger AAA company.
And they got pushed to send
Yeah,
out
you
the
know
game
they have
before it was
deadlines
done.
like, yeah, like we need this game out by this date type deal. So they end up having to cut parts out of it. The people they do exactly that. They just sit there and shit on only BioWare.
But it's actually the big
It's
AAA
just as
publishers
much
themselves too.
Yeah, it's just as much the big AAA that's tied to them as well that's at fault because they see the money. I hate to say it, but they see the money only, and a lot of them lose sight of the fact like, hey, we've got to, this needs time.
So BioWare is part of EA, and EA has kind of been one of those controversial AAA titles recently with all of its loot boxes.
Well, I mean,
Which-
like the loot boxes, Battlefront 2, where you needed to grind 40 hours. The average person that works 40 hours is going to be lucky they're able to play 2 or 3 hours a day. That's if they don't have other things to take care of outside of work. So I'd probably guesstimate maybe 10 hours.
They want to be evil, and they do a very good job of usually being evil. Bioware, I remember talking to my friend when I was back in college a few years back. It seems like they were actually really excited to be owned by EA, and then I guess obviously everything went to hell, and you started seeing that with Mass Effect 3, with not just the ending but the game itself. You could tell it's rushed. You weren't able to land on planets, and you were just starting to see that BioWare was going into some different directions. And then when Andromeda came out, it's like, oh well, this is the first true open world Mass Effect game, but it's also barren wastelands too. So you see, you're in your buggy or whatever, and you're driving around, and then it's like, oh well, I found a cool cave, but then I've also found nothing for a while. Oh, there's patches of creatures or something to kill or whatever. That's great, but I have a friend also who loved Andromeda, but it's just weird. It just could be more.
I mean, like, it's honestly like their first game that I really know of that was a multiplayer game was Star Wars: The Old Republic, and
That was an MMO.
that was one of the best titles for a while too, and that was just created by their small development team. And then once EA came into the picture, things changed quite a bit. Oh shit! Hold on.
I had a friend who I had a friend who told me that they had EA was telling them, he knew somebody who worked at BioWare was telling them, this was BioWare Austin, because you got BioWare Montreal, BioWare Austin. Bioware Austin worked on Knights of the Old Republic. It should be Knights of the Old Republic of the Old Republic or whatever. In terms of like, there should have been even more content. Like, it had the best player versus environment that I had seen in an MMO up to that point. It might still, because you actually had choices that mattered.
Yeah, see, player versus environment is really, it's a fun genre, but it's hard to really make it fun and challenging without being too challenging.
Right. And it should have like swoop bike racing. And I remember a friend of mine a while back was like, well, even if they added this stuff, you know, it would have only added to it for a little bit longer. But the thing that was lacking was the updates, from what I remember, because I played that from beta to when it was launched, and I was in more of like a PvP guild, and uh, we were all excited about the ranked war zones, and we're like, oh sweet, we're gonna put our team, and then they're like, oh, we're canceling this, and that just literally killed the guild. They're like, fuck this shit, I'm done. I can't believe they did this to us, and that was the end of it.
Yeah,
But
like to hype something up and then kill it, just
yeah, they just burned it with fire for sure.
like if they would have taken it and pulled it and then be like, but we're going to give you guys something that's just as good,
Right.
you know, that would have probably been a little less salt inducing.
Yeah, and it's funny because if they just kept it up with the content, and if they could just found that figuring out how that open world PvP was, and on top of it what was it? Oh, the space battle stuff, not like the mini game, which was pretty fun for a little while, and then it got boring. But um, if they could have found that like space combat that I guess Galaxies had back in the day,
Or even,
um,
let's say, look at Battlefront 2.
mm-hmm.
One of the most fun parts of that game was Star Wars Battlefront 2 for the PS2, and that
Yeah.
one of the most fun
okay.
things I'd ever
Amazing.
experienced in that game was the space combat. That shit was unmatched.
It was amazing. You could fly into a carrier area of the space station and go in and fight. Um, that's a whole nother like topic basically with, well, I guess it connects, but it's just really sad because there's a lot of things that they could do with Star Wars that they're not doing. They could continue Jedi Knights. They can make a Jedi Knights 3 if they wanted to. They could somebody could actually make and finish Star Wars 13, which was like Uncharted meets Star Wars, and it had a lot of potential from what they showed, and it just never, they just killed it. But now Disney's like, well, we're bringing Lucas Arts back, so it's like, is that because they're mad at EA, or what? But if they do, and then other people have the properties,
I think a
and
part of it was they were pissed at EA.
Well,
mm-hmm,
EA
I
kind
think
of
so.
killed a big portion of the Star Wars
Fan base.
fan base itself, because EA's system that they created for what was it? Was it Battlefront? The Battle.
Yeah, Battlefront was EA Dice, and then Battlefront 2 was also EA. And
I,
then the new one that's coming out, Fallen Jedi, right? I think it's called.
yeah, that one is actually back to LucasArts and BioWare, I think.
It's Respawn is doing
Oh,
it.
it's Respawn
So it's
doing it.
Respawn
Oh
EA,
Lord.
yeah.
Oh Lord.
Yes, the ones who did Titanfall. So
I mean, Titanfall
Titanfall-
was
Titanfall was,
amazing.
awesome. Titanfall
really
2 was alright, but
I
I heard
like the-
Titanfall 2 had a good storyline.
It really did. I think it's a very underrated game. I like the whole connection between the robot and the human. It was really.
alright.
It was another thing that was unprecedented.
We're I'm gonna rear it back in unless we want to finish up on the topic of like 76 and Anthem and all those games, and refocus back onto the devs and publishers themselves.
With
Yes.
those games, I think they've got potential still, but it's going to take them a long bit and a lot of work to get them to where they could be.
Which comes down to the actual publishers themselves, the big AAA publishers, the small development teams, uh, touching on BioWare, touching on what I'm going to say right now, Obsidian, touching back to Obsidian, and what they originally created, which was what was it, Morrowind, and what was the other one?
Didn't they do Fallout 2?
I
Yeah.
think they did. Yeah.
They
And yeah,
did,
Fallout 1 and 2, I've heard
And,
were amongst literally the best.
Fallout New Vegas.
yeah, they did New Vegas. I know that one for sure.
Mm,
New
And I-
Vegas was amazing. I've never played it, but from what I've seen of it, New Vegas was pretty good.
yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Which kind of brings me to the sad thing that they've done with their latest game that they're planning is Outer World. They're
Yeah.
they're bringing it to the Epic Game Store, which
Yes.
I have nothing against Epic, but like the
I mean, I don't agree solely with it because people will sit there and shit, but they sit there and they're like, oh, it's not anti-consumerism. Yeah, it really is, because it forces you to download not only yet another store, which I've got 4 or 5 of them alone already,
Yeah, it's whatever with that.
but
I would like to point out on my actual screen right now, I have 2 of said stores, Origin and Steam, and then I have I had to install the Epic Games Store to get my Unreal Engine program so I can work on a game. Like, it's ridiculous the fact that you actually have to install different stores, and for a lot of times you can actually have. I personally like having all games centralized onto one platform itself. And
yeah.
GOG is now working on doing, and that of course is CD Projekt Red. So that was an article the other. We'll see how that turns out.
Like, truthfully, it bugs me that all these games are on different stores and shit.
and shit, who was it? I don't remember the name of the game or the actual producers for it. But they were unwittingly signed a contract with Epic Games, and their game is on the Epic Store for 6 months before you can actually.
Gearbox.
What? Oh yeah,
3.
Borderlands 3. Yeah, thank you.
I hate
Damn.
to say it, but they're not going to see the huge until it hits Steam.
Yeah,
It's going to be good, but it won't be great, and it's been pulled now from the after the mega sale because there were some problems, and I haven't seen it back on there. I've had that launcher since 2015, and they were offering a free game on there, Shadow Complex Remastered. And if you guys like the kind of platform game, I recommend it. It's fun. It has Nolan North as the main character, his voice in that, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
If you're a big fan of Uncharted, but it's funny because Epic was fine and they're offering, I think, games still for every 2 weeks, but when they started doing the anti-consumer, that's when people started getting upset. They're basically saying you have to download this bare bones platform, and people will yell at you when you say this online or whatever. They're not happy about people being pro Steam. I don't know why, but it's just, I think the whole mentality of I just accept this and I just love the game that much that I just accept this without looking into what is going on. And then recently Epic had more problems from somebody lost their information and it was passed around to somebody else, and they said, what is this? Like, this stuff comes out and you're just like, what? You're supposed to protect the security of the users who are using Epic, especially if they spend money or whatever, but it's bare bones. And people think it's all like, oh, it's because, it's another launcher. No, man, it's not, it's not even that. It's just that these games are locked. Metro Exodus is locked
Oh
for
God.
6 months to a year on the Epic Store, and it's bare bones. It doesn't even have a shopping cart, and it's probably like, oh, that doesn't matter, man. I always just think like there's some guy out there, it's like, dude, it's fine.
See, my thing is this: if they don't even, if it's, and I've seen it before. I downloaded Epic Store on another laptop in order to
Yeah.
get Subnautica for free. But my
Mhm.
thing is if it's since it's that bare bones, who's to say the security isn't just that bare bones? I don't
Right.
want to download another store, put my credit card and everything to it, only to find out my shit's been hacked and I've lost half my information or my game account.
And that's kind of one of the big hits too with the multiple stores is because each one is vastly different than the last, and their whole entire setups are. I'll admit, Origins is not that user friendly. Epic Games
It's
is
not.
not that friendly. It the reason why I prefer having everything on Steam is because Steam's been one of the longest running online game stores,
It
and
has.
it actually spurred most of the new ones that are out right now, Epics and Origin and GOG or whatever the other ones are. It spurred them on, but there's such a smaller scale compared to Steam, and Steam also it's got the Greenlight program where they will help out new and upcoming uh, game developers. They'll sponsor them and put their games onto Steam itself. Whereas
Yep.
if you look over at Epic Games, they don't do that. They prefer having AAA titles or well established game devs on there themselves.
Well, I
Or
mean, the CEO said himself they're going to put in quality control as to not allow quote unquote crap games, unlike other stores. Yeah, Steam
which
has a lot of shitty games on there,
Yeah.
but at the same time,
it's by the
they're all
users.
small devs.
It's by the users themselves. The people that actually use Steam will,
Mm-hmm.
in full confidence, be like, hey, I'm trying to put this game out and I would like to have some help. I'm a small time developer. I'm trying to get sponsored by such and such AAA title people. And Steam's like, okay, we'll go ahead and put your game out there for a set amount of months. If it does well, we'll keep it on the store. If not, then we'll pull it and put you on Greenlight. And if you show us that you've developed the game even more or developed a different game that we think might sell, we'll put it back up on there. And
And
oh, go ahead and
go ahead.
no. You go ahead, Cash.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead, guys. Who's ever listening? No. The whole problem is that yes, Steam was not perfect. I've had problems with Steam. There
Everybody.
didn't even used to be a refund. And they had to be attacked by the Australians and had to be sued before finally something got done. Thank goodness. You buy old games on Steam. I bought what was it, Dead Space, the original Dead Space. It didn't have a working INI file, which is the settings, basically the settings. So I
True.
couldn't get that game to work. So what did I have? I had the Steam community,
Mm-hmm.
and this is not like about being pro Steam, but they are very helpful because people are like, oh, we got you, man. We had this problem too. So you do this and that, and you're all set. And that's what I did. I installed that file into a folder. Boom, game worked. Um, I I think the worst thing I ever bought on Steam is a game of Gearbox, which was Aliens Colonial Marines.
Oh
And I
wow.
recommend not buying that game. But my friends and I, we went through it. We played the campaign. We played it on the hardest difficulty one time through. We tried the multiplayer, and you hit a key, and your alien jumps, and it's like, okay. Like, it jumps on the wall, and like, that's weird that you don't just go up to close to the wall and he crawls up on it. It's a small thing, but that's just Steam. That's probably the only game I really bought on Steam. And then there was Knights of the Old Republic, which had problems working, where I had to once again go on the Steam forums and the community forums or whatever and look that up. And then I was able to fix the problem. But Steam hasn't been perfect. I had problems with Counter Strike Source a few years ago. It just wouldn't work. I don't know why it just wouldn't. And then after a while, it finally did. I didn't go and get out my torch and my pitchfork and stuff,
Or
blame
you didn't go to
Steam, but
Reddit.
right, that's right. Or
But
go on Reddit or bomb or do a bomb of reviews or something because you're mad about something. Steam, Epic could be great. They could be. They could be a lot of potential there, but
what
they
would you
chose that. What's up? Yeah,
what would you suggest for improvements for like Epic Game Store? Like
just to not lock these games under lock
contract.
the game for 6 months
To me,
or
the exclusivity really hurts them.
yes,
They think like, oh, we're going to be making so much money because it's only on our store. But if you really
Right.
look at it, if you've got it across multiple stores, you're going to make even more money because you're allowing people to get it on
Different
different
stores.
formats. Like I can tell you, Borderlands 3, it's going to sell more on console than it is PC for that first 6 months.
Yes.
I would be shocked if it didn't. Yeah,
It's kind of sad too, like with the exclusivity clauses that Epic Games is doing on different ones. Borderlands 3 being one of the most recent ones, and before that it was Metro Exodus. With that clause, it causes the backlash of the gaming community that's been waiting for these games for years, and the backlash hurts the actual franchise and the actual developers. Gearbox is actually hurting because of the backlash from Borderlands 3 being locked for 6 months on Epic Games. Metro Exodus actually bombed recently with their sales, and it's sad because it's a really great game. But if you had pre-ordered the game on Steam before Epic Games put in a sly clause into their contract with the developers of Metro, Steam upheld its end of the bargain and actually allowed you to install and play the game on Steam itself if you had pre-ordered it through them.
yep, they did. I remember reading that. Yeah, I thought that was.
And I'm one of those players that actually has it on Steam. But like, it physically upset me knowing that they locked them into a contract that they thought they'd be able to have it on Steam originally. And I'm not sure what's going on with Gearbox with their contract with Epic Games right now, but I can tell you for sure it's either they signed the contract without knowing about that clause of exclusive on Epic Games Store for 6 months until
Well, I was gonna say, isn't Gearbox, doesn't Gearbox use the Unreal 4K for it?
I think that was one of the.
I'm not.
Let me check that.
I don't know.
I'll check that
Yeah,
out real quick.
maybe check that.
Because I was under the impression that anything with the Unreal 4K engine, that's the reason that there's the exclusivity, was because if you use it, there's the clause of having to Epic has to get exclusivity on the game for at least 6 months, which to me that just
Well,
I don't understand the purpose of it.
Randy Pitchford in general, and he had this problem with Aliens Colonial Marines, and I remember his wife got on Twitter and told him people to leave him alone, which I don't know, it just makes me laugh, but that actually happened.
It's like that, leave Britney alone.
That's right, pretty much. And it's just really, and to me, I was like, dude, this guy's a grown man. If he can't take criticism, I don't know why he's even in the business.
Yeah,
He started attacking about Epic, and they were telling him on Twitter, like, dude, I don't like this, and he was attacking people about it and being sarcastic and condescending and whatever to people on there. It's like, dude, these are your customers. What are you doing, man? But that's Randy Pitchford. He's got a big ego up.
It is
Well, I mean-
using UE4, so that's probably
Oh, okay.
that's probably
Well,
the
then that
reason
would
for the
explain
clause.
some.
My big thing though is if you can't take criticism
Yeah.
in anything, you're in for a world of hurt no matter what you're in. Whether it's
Really?
writing books, designing cars, developing
Yeah.
video games.
Hey,
Yeah.
Shit,
don't attack
any
me.
job you're going to get criticized.
Well, see, it's also people are upset about Borderlands 3 because it's really the best thing that Gearbox has ever done.
What?
Anything else before that has just not been great. I don't know. I can't name
Uh,
something else. Maybe
Gears
Duke
of War.
Nukem, but that was like, which one?
Gears of War. Didn't Gearbox do Gears of War?
Did they? Oh yeah, they might have. That's right. There are some things.
I love
I
the
think
Gears
they
of
were
War
also connected
franchise.
with Half Life, if I remember too. Also, Gearbox was connected with Half Life. I can't remember which one though.
No,
Somebody
never
go
mind.
look it
Never mind. I'm mistaken.
up. Okay.
Gears of War is exclusively like originally developers Epic Games,
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. Oh wow.
but
Which reminds me, like if Steam wanted to really step up and just annihilate the competition for I'd say a good year, they already know what they need to do.
Yeah.
Steam.
Put out Half-Life 3 and they will just mop the floor of everything.
And even if all they had to do was they just build on whatever they did with Half-Life 2 and just build on that, but they're probably like, it's just never going to be as great as it could be, and people have too high expectations. But if that got actually announced finally, people would flip out.
They
Oh,
flipped
they
out
would
when they
shit
heard
themselves.
when Steam announced that they were doing Half-Life 3D. People were flipping out because they thought it was Half-Life 3.
There's
And
so many fan games made of Half-Life
we
that
just-
it's not even funny.
Right. And yeah, I know, and that's crazy too. We have to teach them to count to 3 because for some reason these developers they don't know once they get to 2 that's it. They just can't count to 3. I don't know why, but
Well, I think it's the stigma. Like some games don't make it to 3 because they
No.
either just
It's
crap out on the storyline,
trilogy. It's the trilogy.
or they end up with the Halo syndrome.
Oh God.
Or after 3, it just kind of like, I hate to say it, I loved 4. 4 was fun. The gameplay was fun, but 4 and then Guardians just kind of like tanked to me. Like I loved Reach. Reach was amazing. Halo Wars for an RTS, and I hate RTS, was actually decently fun.
yeah.
ODST was fun. I'd only seen gameplay of that one, but it looked like a great game. But then 4 and Guardians was just
But that's the
Like-
thing about Steam too is like they have their own development team. They have Valve. And if they really wanted to, they could push out more games, like personally developed games like Epic used to do. But
Yes.
And I think Cash is right though that's why they haven't done Half-Life 3 is they know, like guys, no matter what we put out, we could put out our heart and soul, and somebody's going to shit on this.
Which would be fine, but I think they're also just lazy. They just let Steam they've made so much money off Steam, and they do every year. And even with Epic,
Yeah.
they're still going to make a lot.
Yeah, they are.
But it's just too bad that there's just some things, but they show concept art for stuff like Left 4 Dead 3, and recently I think it was Left 4 Dead 3.
it's
and-
it's basically so what you're talking about is actually like a direct descendant from Left 4 Dead
Mm.
that
I'll be
they're
back here in a
creating right
minute.
now. It's similar to what was the other game that recently got announced that's basically like a soul descendant of the other one? Mordhau. Mordhau is a direct descendant of Chivalry, but there's a lot of things that both of the gaming stores could actually do, and they could pull in more developers, more publishers. But that's the thing that Epic Games is lacking right now is the willingness to bring in more developers and publishers. They're focusing on the AAAs. They're focusing on well-known titles and well-known developers. They don't want
It's
to.
just crazy because all they're doing is throwing money at developers, and people are just happy to accept it. And if you say this, then they're like, you tell people they're anti-consumer because they're locking the content. Where PC is supposed to be an open platform, people say, well, what about Origin or what about UPlay? It's like, well, Ubisoft and EA they publish their own games, so they were like, well, we don't want to be part of Steam anymore, so they have their own store.
which
Same
is
with GOG,
which
and they're not bad, but Origin could use some work. Uplay has its problems, but GOG is probably my second favorite store after Steam.
like these games, these publishers, EA, Origin, Blizzard, they have their own standalone apps now, and it's for their specific games. They're not trying to be like Monopoly for different titles. If they have a title that comes up under their development team, they're like, okay, well, we're going to put it in our app. We'll advertise it on other stores, but we'd prefer them using our app, kind of thing. And I give them props for doing that. I give them props. Blizzard does their stuff pretty well for the social tabs and similar items like
Yeah.
that. But that's because they have to with like Overwatch and World of Warcraft and StarCraft. They have to.
Is Destiny 2, by the way, going to be pulled from the BattleNet? I guess that's probably next. I don't.
I don't know
Maybe
about
it'll
that.
stay there because I saw today they they pulled the name off. Bungie did. Blizzard, they pulled Activision off. I should say, pulled
Did they?
from that. Yeah, they did.
Wow.
They put the from Destiny 2. Activision doesn't have that name on there anymore after they decide to split from Activision.
Well,
And we could get into a long list of things also that Blizzard's doing wrong. We'll get there, but
that's something that we could talk about later on or
yeah.
on the next
Um,
podcast.
but yeah, these stores are they're fine, but Epic
E-
they're like, here's money, we're gonna put this slot. It's like no, and then you're starting to find out these problems. Not so much, well, security is obviously an issue, but just the way that people are acting, the way Randy Pitchford is acting. And I get it. You want Epic gives you a better cut for the developers. I fine, but you're hurting people because PC has never really been about being exclusive.
Not
And while there are Origin and there this and that, I don't remember Valve ever saying, "Hey, you have to have our store only on Steam." I don't think I've ever seen them say that, or Gabe or any of those people who work there said any of that. But Epic, I feel like they're coming out. There's these articles. First, it's positive. It also helps when all these journalists are all for it because they hate Steam for whatever reason, even though Steam brought in a refund policy and so on. Fine, it took time, but it still happens. So why hate Steam? Oh, we're for the developers. Like there's just a lot of BS going on
which
with these journalists
it,
or whatever. It's terrible.
on the whole shtick of for the developers. Why not the small developers? Why not the small publishers? Why not the people that are doing
Right.
like per se me? Like I'm a solo developer right now. I'm working on my own game, creating it on the Unreal Engine. Granted, I'm probably not going to be able to publish it at all because it's on Unreal. And if I wanted to publish it, I would have to go through Epic Games to publish it.
Right.
But I'm doing it through Unreal because it's more of a simplistic platform to work on. Whereas if I were to go to Unity, there's a lot of things that I have to micromanage. Whereas
True.
Unreal has all these assets available already.
And that's what they get you is the quality of life, the easy UI, and shit with it. They kind of lure you in with it, kind of like an anglerfish with that little light,
Yep. But
Yeah, that's right.
and then
I,
they got you.
I'm just going to say this right now. If Steam actually produced their own engine, like Unreal Engine for Epic Games, if Steam produced their own engine, they would have so many more titles being produced every year. So
Oh,
many
yeah.
more small developers working with them. They they could easily over and kind of monopolize everything over Epic Games with their exclusiveness.
Well, they've got the Source engine. That's their engine, and
Well,
they
if they improve on it, like
they
Unreal
need to
Engine,
improve on.
since Unreal's on 4 already, and I think Steam's pretty much kept their source engine as it is. But if they wanted to,
Yeah,
they could easily overpower Unreal Engine. They have the time. They have the uh, coders. They have the developers for that.
definitely.
But they are kind of laying back and like, okay, we're not going to push our agenda on other people. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, and what we're doing is
Right.
better than what others are. Which I give them credit for doing that. I give them credit for not trying to be uh, monopolizing the whole entire PC universe. Whereas, like,
Mhm.
I'm going to actually start moving into doing consoles now about exclusiveness for consoles and the trends for consoles. Because you have this whole entire debate over the internet. What is the best thing? PC, console, PC, PS4, Xbox, Nintendo, da 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 da. You have all these other consoles, other gaming systems that you can use. Uh,
Yeah, and
oh,
yeah, go for it, man.
sorry, I'm going on a roll now because like I would like to point out unpopular opinion, but um,
I
Toby
got a few of those.
Fox's Undertale actually got moved to consoles,
Hmm.
which his system, his original game, was put out onto the Steam store, and
Right.
consoles. I don't remember which consoles it was, but I think it was PS4 or Nintendo. I can't remember which one. Picked up and was like, okay, we're fine with putting your game onto our system because it's an easy and simplistic system to use for the
Hmm.
game. Like the cross-platform compatibility with different things is probably one of the most intricate things that needs to happen with consoles and PC. There's a few games I know of that you're able to do that, but they're few and far between.
Like Sea of Thieves is
Yeah,
cross platform,
but that's
and
because it's
truthfully,
Microsoft,
yeah.
and Microsoft
But
is on
games that are,
PC.
mm,
If
but games that are cross platform, it can really save them.
mm-hmm,
Well, also like more PC games are now you're a lot of Japanese RPGs. So they were on Sony or they were on Nintendo or whatever,
Hmm.
and now they're coming to PC, which just makes sense. But I get it. Like if a lot of these games on PS4, I mean, a good deal of them do, but other ones are exclusive for the console or the or the handheld or whatever it is. Uh, it could be they could come to PC and that would be fine too. But people nowadays, I don't know why, but people are just like, oh, I just want to play on console, and it's like, well, if you have the money, go PC. Like the options you have is just incredible, and you don't limit yourself. But if people just want the Switch or PS4 or Xbox One, I mean, that's fine, or 3DS or whatever.
well,
It's
granted, those options are actually cheaper than going with PC. But on the
they
flips,
can.
they can be. But on the flip side, here's another thing about PC that the other consoles do not have access to: emulators.
Exactly.
And you can bring old PS2 games to your PC. You can bring PS3. You can bring PS4. You have the
Yep.
options of being able to do that, which again brings me to the whole entire cross-platform. Like there's some games that are multiplayer games on Xbox that can easily be cross-platform to PC, which, uh, granted, with Microsoft Store and the ability to be able to do that, you can. But it's not true cross-platform because you're using the Xbox Live application. I mean, I think PS4 has that or PlayStation has that. I don't remember. Does Sony have something like that? Oh shit.
Beats me. I don't own a PS4. I'll say this though. An unpopular opinion is that there is no better best between PC and console. Because really, if you've got the money, yes, go a PC. If a part craps out, you can replace it. In a console, if a part craps out, it's fucked. Because if you tear it apart, you're breaking warranty and you potentially get sued. Consoles they've had some good what's the word? Not standalones.
Exclusives.
Some good exclusives. Like I'll say it right now, Sony has been kicking the shit out of Microsoft with exclusives alone.
Oh, definitely. And,
Like
but
God
now
of
they're-
War, fucking Spider-Man.
Yes.
Just those two alone have
Horizon
kicked
Zero
Microsoft
Dawn.
right in the Horizon Zero Dawn. They've all kicked Microsoft in the nuts just with exclusives.
It's interesting that Sony has been doing a lot of third-person open-world games, and I know people like to criticize that, but if they're really well done, go for it, you know. But there's other stuff too that they do, like Spider-Man.
My thing is though, is they've been doing it
yes, they have.
like Spider-Man. I don't know if you guys have played it, but the end of that game, like rips your fucking heart out and stomps all over it. Like it just, you feel like there is no not crying after seeing the end of that fucking game.
Don't
Yeah, I
spoil,
heard it gets-
please.
Like
I haven't.
it was fucking heart wrenching as hell, Jake. It's
Oh God. Here we go.
yeah,
No.
like bring the tissues, buddy. You're gonna need them. Fuck.
Like,
I wasn't even playing and I was crying.
see, with the exclusives, there are trends with them because it's been flip flopping between the consoles with the exclusiveness. The previous gen, PS3 and 360,
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft had the exclusives of the Gears of War series,
Yeah.
and Christ, those were good. The whole entire series.
Gears of War 3, that game. Oh my god. Fucking Dom died. Oh!
But the thing about the consoles themselves is they've always had that debate between Sony and Microsoft with, oh, ours is more powerful than yours, and da 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 da. And
Yeah.
it's getting ridiculous. And just recently, the reveal of the next gen Xbox and the next gen PlayStation, it's been confirmed that the next gen Xbox is going to be more powerful than PlayStation, and it's ridiculous.
Weren't they talking about that before, though, man? With the Xbox X of the 360 XX, whatever you want to call it.
The Scorpio, Project Scorpio.
Yeah, I just don't buy into. They've done so many wrong things.
But
They did things right, but they did wrong stuff with the Xbox One that I just don't have much hope for a new console to say, "Oh, I want that." That's just me. I'm happy with Nintendo and Sony and stuff as my consoles.
honestly, like, Nintendo's doing really well with the
Yes.
Switch.
Yes, the Switch is pretty amazing. It really is.
They kind of bombed
there's
when they
the-
made the Wii U, but
The
they
Wii U was
Well,
I think the Wii U was an attempt to try and capture the same effect the Wii itself had,
and as one of my friends
and they
put
just
it a
dropped the
while-
ball with it.
Yeah, it's just it's not bad. It's nice, especially if you didn't get to play those Wii games because of the backwards compatibility. But it's just it's still a pretty cool thing, but it just didn't have that drive that
The oomph.
that the Wii had
It-
with the.
It almost
the,
feels like it was the
if you guys
prototype.
didn't know, it was the seniors that it was a pick up and play situation with the Wii, and the seniors could just pick up and play, and they were all set with the remote. With
Yeah.
the Wii U, it was more challenging, so they lost those sales. Not that the Wii U was bad, but it just there were things about it that could have been better. For
Which-
example, like Star Fox. The way you play it on the Wii remote is fine, but it's still a little. It's not as good as when you use the controller in the N64. If you guys ever played the Star Fox game,
which
any of them.
honestly, I think they saw what they did wrong with the Wii U and improved upon it with the Switch, which
Oh,
I admit Nintendo's always been about doing that. Like, their original game systems, their portable hand systems.
Yes.
The Game Boy, their very
Yes.
first
Ah,
one.
man. The Game Boy, fuck.
You could
That was
throw that
literally
on
my
the
first
ground.
console.
Yeah.
It was the handheld N64. You could drop a TV on that bitch and it'd keep on going.
That's
Uh,
gonna be one of the Twitch streams right there. Is the
My-
three of us going to a house and we drop a TV on it, and then we see if it still works. That would be pretty cool, actually.
But Nintendo's
Like,
always
my-
been about improvement. Like everything that they've done, they've looked at their previous generations and they're like, okay, what can we do better? What have we done well? What's been the best thing that we've had? And like,
Yeah, like
okay,
rip this junk out of it, add this cool shit to it,
exactly.
and let's see if this formula works.
Yeah, they need to get their online situation fixed, though.
Yeah, I've heard
I
the
know
online
they are
can be a bit of a
lacking badly on that,
bit of a ball of ass.
It's it is. It's not worth paying $20 a year or whatever for that. No, it's $20 a year for that.
Ouch.
There's no GameCube games on there. There's no this. It's just like it's just kind of ass. And
Which-
I even tell people, I'm like, it's just not good enough for me to drop money on it. It just isn't.
I feel
When it-
really horrible because like the Wii, the cross-platform, the cross-compatibility with the old GameCube games, that was one of the best features of the Wii.
Hell, the GameCube had cross compatibility.
Yeah, with fucking
You
Game
slap
Boy
an
games.
adapter into the bottom of it, and you could use a Game Boy Advance as the fucking controller.
Yeah. That's what I've been happy about Nintendo is they've always gone back and like we can always use our old games. We can make it so people can play the old games that they used to love and play as a child.
Like, hey, people love our old shit. Let's let them keep playing it.
Well, then Nintendo
Oh.
was all like, "Well, we're gonna get rid of these emulators. We're gonna get rid of these ROMs because they it's some copyrighted." And people were like, "Dude, now wait a second here. These companies don't even exist anymore, and you wanna get rid of these ROMs? Are you crazy?"
yeah.
It's like, well, if you're gonna do that, then put them on the online thing. Like, where is the N64? Where is the Super Nintendo? Where is the GameCube stuff, dude? It needs to be on there. Like, it needs to, because then it would be more enticing to say, oh, now that is a pretty cool online system.
For-
Besides getting the voice activation stuff fixed
Because
in
of
the party.
nostalgia. Like nostalgia is
Right.
one of the big things that Nintendo is good at getting you with.
There's so many Nintendo games that are played because of nostalgia and because of speedrun.
Like
Yes.
all the Zelda games.
The Zelda games, the Metroid series. I've seen people doing a speedrun of Super Mario Brothers for shit's sakes.
Oh, of course.
Like and they have to go and find emulators online for that. Like there's emulators online for the N64 games for
Yep.
speed running purposes.
Hell, I'll be
And-
truthful, I've been looking for one for the Sega Dreamcast because there's games on there that I've wanted to play for years.
It's just
The Dreamcast one, I think they have an emulator for, and then they finally fixed the PS2 one, so you guys can just set it up if you got a nice enough computer, and boom, you're ready to go with your PS2 games. So you want to play stuff like, if you guys ever played Time Splitters or some, like, I really like Time Splitters, but it's a first person game. It's a pretty sweet shooter. It's really fun. Some people didn't like it, but you could actually make your own maps in that game, which was sweet.
so
See, speaking of making your own maps, that reminds me, the Halo
oh
coming to PC, I swear to God, if they don't have Forge mode,
oh yeah.
they're going to have so many pissed off people. Because, man, let me tell you, there was nothing more fun than just getting pissed drunk and screwing around on Forge mode to make the trolliest map you could possibly make.
Those better be some dang good ports too, since they're coming to Steam. I don't want to see some crappy ass ports of Halo games. I'll buy Halo. I think Halo's the only one I played.
There's
and then,
rumors about that, by the way. There are rumors that it's going to be remastered, so all the textures and everything is going to be
Oh, God.
remastered back to
Good.
Oh yeah.
nowadays standard.
The thing is, they're probably gonna first thing they're probably gonna make sure they do though is nerf the Halo 1 pistol. Because man, let me
I
tell
heard
you,
about
that shit was scary. There was
Sniping
a
with that
YouTube
thing.
video I was watching once, and there are these dudes. It was in Blood Gulch, and these dudes are sitting there, and you see two of them just get picked off, and then somebody else, he's got the Halo 1 pistol, and they're just losing their shit.
Oh man, you guys never probably played GoldenEye back in the N64 days. That was
Oh.
the golden gun, man. He's got the golden gun, dude. That's it. I love getting that.
Man, if you got that
One
gun, it was
shot,
fucking
one kill.
game over.
That was it.
All right. I'm gonna move us on to the next topic. By the way, Nugget, you wanted to talk about the time gates and timed exclusive events for things. What were you meaning to talk about the time gates and timed exclusives? Nugget, silence.
We
Sorry, I
lost
was
Nugget,
coughing.
man.
No, but see, I noticed with a lot of these games that they have these timed exclusives that are always one time.
Hold on. You just crapped out on me. What the fuck?
Dun, 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 dun. It's all part of the show, people.
Technical difficulties. Hold on. I'm gonna go check something real quick.
Are you there, Nugget?
Alright, I think I got it. Maybe. Hello?
Yep, I hear you.
Nugget?
Nugget.
Uh-oh. I think Nugget died.
Wow.
Hello?
Thing.
There he is. Nugget, I heard you.
For like a
Yes?
second.
Okay, there we go.
All
Had
right,
my
cool.
board for a moment.
Technical difficulties are over. It's like, dude, that's it. There's too many technical difficulties. I can't take it.
Let's take a quick intermission. Joking. Throw up the intermission screen. Technical difficulties. We'll be right back.
Yeah, well, Mr. Nugget swears it is.
Oh, shit. Is it your internet that's crapping out, or is it mine?
Let me look. I'm reading at 83 ms. I know my internet belched for a second because I was on WoW and it DC'd.
Ah. Alright.
But I don't know if you guys caught it, but one thing I've noticed is with some games, there's only like the timed exclusives
Yeah.
are just, it's either too short or it's really not worth it. Like I think the Witcher event on Monster Hunter, that's a one-time deal, isn't it?
no.
It might.
No,
I
it's
don't
not.
think so.
So,
Okay, because I'd understood it was only going to be like, it's only going to be here for this window alone, and then it's gone forever.
no. So you can only do the quest line one time. And,
That's ass.
no, so the base quest line you can do one time, and then you can keep hunting the creature multiple times, I believe, to get the full set. I don't know. I haven't been on Monster Hunter in a while, so I can't give a definite answer on that one. I can check real
Mhm.
quick, though.
I heard some people the quests are kind of retarded. Well, excuse me, I shouldn't say retarded. But that we'll just say they're not very good. Yeah.
Like, I understand why some games like WoW use time gates and whatnot. It's because they have to really slow people. Because the first thing people do is blitz through it and then bitch about it.
It's just not. I don't know. They have timed exclusives also in like a time event in Sea of Thieves, which is just weird to me. I think this was it the Skeleton Forts for timed events. I don't know. Maybe that.
I know I think it was the first Skeleton Forts. There was specific rewards, like the Megalodons. There was when it first released, there was a specific reward for its initial release. But
that
now
was,
those are all permanently in game.
yeah, so Geralt's quest is actually permanently in game now.
Oh,
Nice.
adds more story flavor, I believe, is what I was reading real
Mhm.
quick. So
Mhm.
it adds a reasoning for why some of the creatures are a little bit more harder to kill. Is basically what I just read.
Makes sense.
That would make sense. Yeah, he
And
took down
also,
a griffin. So
like if you think about it, there's actually Final Fantasy elements within Monster Hunter World still. Also, the Cacturns, Behemoth, uh, the Mowgli is actually still there, and those are all used to be a one-time event, but they're now implemented in permanent parts.
Now, see, I like. oh, not to derail, but well, actually, never mind. I'll wait till we change the subject again because there's. I have an unpopular opinion that I want to throw out that I
Well,
know will probably get the torches and pitchforks to burn down your Twitch channel, Jake, and
oh
mine.
Jesus. As far as I know, for other timed exclusives, a lot of them they're seasonal exclusives. Like Overwatch has 4 or 5 different seasonal exclusives for.
yeah,
Now, see, I can get behind seasonal exclusives
yeah, it's hard.
But
because at least it gives you a time frame to get it. If you don't get it within that time, you know it'll be coming around again.
but Vermintide 2, its most recent exclusive event that it had on there, the Drunken one, that was
Yeah,
a
the
one-time
anniversary
thing.
that was
That was a one-time
only
thing,
that time.
and it's never going to be back again, and you can't get the stuff for it. From what I know, also there is what was it in? Shizen.
Like I understand WoW having its each time WoW opens up a new raid, it has exclusive little things you can get. Like currently for heroic difficulty of the raids, there's a specific mount you can get for beating it before the next raid drops. Those I understand being exclusive. That's for people that are hardcore, that are pushing into the raids and shit like that. But they still leave raids at they still leave loot after that. Like there's a mount you can still get on the higher difficulty.
I mean,
They just throttled the drop percentages.
I understand why there's exclusives, but you should be able to at least have like compensation awards that you can get after the exclusive rewards are no longer being able to be picked up. You need at least compensation rewards for it.
Or at least something that gives you a reason to push into it anyways.
I mean, I'll be honest. This is really fucking unpopular between you and me, Nugget. Um, but League actually has a system where uh, you can actually earn old legacy items from previous seasons. Like you can actually earn the old champion skins for 2016, 2017, and 2018, but it's prestige capsules basically. So every 50 levels, you get a prestige capsule, and that's how you can get those legacy skins. Or you can actually be given random skins by bigger streamers or people that want to give you one of those random skin capsules also. But there are systems in place for different games that allow that. But then there's a couple of them. There's very few of them that I know of personally that don't do that. Um, shit, I don't think I have any of them on here.
Like WoW with the legendary system.
Yeah.
Each expansion they have a legendary you can go after. Up to Cataclysm, you're able to go after it after the expansion. Mists of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, Mists of Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor offered a legendary cloak and then a legendary ring. After the expansions ended, you could not make them or go after them anymore.
Yeah, but that's like for a limited time for a brand new kind of expansion. So it makes sense for those people that want to push hard and get those items for those expansions. It makes sense. But for other games, like per se other MMOs that have things like that but aren't like really well known, there's really no point in having exclusive items like that. It kind of, because you get those players that get those items that are like hardcore players that knew that this update was coming like months before, weeks before,
Yeah.
and then they flaunt those items in front of players that per se are brand new, and they're like, how do you get that item? And then you get the people
Oops,
being
sorry,
like,
bub, it's unobtainable.
exactly. It's
I do
kind
that
of like,
with my.
it's kind of disheartening when you get situations like that, personally.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you feel bad.
With WoW, every year they do the anniversary event, and it always changes year to year what the anniversary is and whatnot. Like, oh shit, a few years ago you were able to go into a looking for raid group version of Molten Core, the level 60 raid at 100, and if you completed it during the anniversary, you got a giant Corehound mount. You can't get that Corehound mount anymore.
But that's kind of like one of those situations where it's
I like to flaunt that to my wife that I have it and she doesn't.
but that's kind of like one of those situations where it's a what do you call it? That's an anniversary thing. Like there should
Yeah.
be anniversary exclusives, which makes sense for games that have been around for fucking ages.
Sorry. Wife's laying in bed just flipping me off.
Well, that was random. I like it.
Because the Corehound mount I've got, she can't get it because it was the anniversary thing.
I got something you don't have.
But she's also.
Oh, my bad.
But there's a lot of stuff like in WoW that you can get that's rare, that a certain number of the population doesn't yet have.
Yeah, I mean, events, free-to-play games and other stuff, especially if they're good events, not some crappy thing they just throw together and it's like, oh, this is just about sucking more money out of your wallet. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, great, thanks.
Warframe. No.
Well, it's not even
I
sucking
kid.
money out of your pocket, really.
I kid about
Yeah.
Warframe. I actually really love Warframe, with it
Like,
being a
people
free to play.
Yeah, it's
People
one of
that
definitely one of
kinda-
the best out there.
People call it pay to win, and I just want to punch them in the fucking throat.
I can't, no.
Because I'll put it to you this way: I could drop $10,000 into that game, get every single mod in the game, every Warframe, every Prime Warframe, and I still will be missing one Warframe, one key ability, and a whole shit ton of other weapons.
And even then, if you buy all that stuff, there's even if you so we're going to move into multiplayer games after this, I guess. Single player versus multiplayer, because I feel like we're getting off topic now talking about Warframe, because that's a whole entire different realm.
Ball game.
Yeah, because that's part of the free to play games that I wanted to kind of hit on later.
Single player versus multiplayer is a hard argument.
Oh,
Mhm.
Because there's certain elements that make both good.
yes.
Yeah, but
Like-
then there's people out there who are like multiplayer only, and it's like, no.
And that kind of
What
comes
do you
back to the whole entire console PC kind of arguments. There is the single player games themselves. You have a lot of them, and they have a lot of good aspects to them. Then you have the multiplayer games that some of them are really good and they're focused on it, i.e. the Call of Duty series. And
Yeah, they can be fun but people still do not want to work together, and then on top of it, you have to shoot people because there's these little kids on there. So the reason I think the multiplayer only future that some people keep talking about is just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a load of horse
You,
shit.
you can't the, the developers don't push a lot of these games, including Overwatch, where if you're playing with random people, don't expect them to care about teamwork. Don't expect them to want to help out or anything. I mean, that all
Yeah,
goes
no.
along the same. They don't care. And like you'll play Overwatch now with random people. Good luck, because it's like cancer. I hate to say it, but it is. It's cancer. They don't care, and so you're basically putting in the time, and then there's all these people that just don't care. And Call of Duty, they have this thing where like you stole my kill or something, and it's ridiculous. I think that's still going on. I don't know. Maybe that's over with
And
now.
Oh shit, that goes on in a lot of games.
and let me drop this on you guys for the multiplayer games. Doing competitive multiplayer, i.e., ranked matches or tournaments. That's
Yes.
when
See-
situations start changing with the multiplayer
It
scene.
can. Even in Overwatch, when you get ranked, at least the experience I've had, like a few years ago, 2 years ago or something, they were like, dude, it doesn't matter if we try or lose because this is not that high of a ranked. And it's like, well, dude,
That's the
no,
that's
it's a ranked match, so let's actually give a rat's ass. Can we do
Yeah.
that? No.
Unfortunately, that is a lot of the scenes within competitive multiplayer games or games that are like esports games, Rainbow
I
Six
think-
Siege, StarCraft, things like that. There is a specific scene behind the actual games themselves for multiplayer that people don't really understand because they don't want to look out for other people. They want to look out for
No,
themselves.
they don't. Yeah, it's all about looking out for themselves. It's the whole thing. And then the developers are like, oh, well, these are the problems and these. It's like, no, make your game where people actually care about the online, where they care about teaming up. That's how TF2 was. You actually had to care to some extent to work together and at least some extent. But
Rainbow-
with Call of Duty and Overwatch and the list goes on, people don't want to give a shit. They don't have to. And then you can just lose the match. And if you care, great. But nobody else does, and then the other team does, and it's just a big giant clusterfuck.
But like per se with the Rainbow Six Siege or
Yes.
the Rainbow Six series in general, it is actually about the teamwork. Like,
It is.
which I actually really like that series is because the teamwork for it requires you to actually have some mild teamwork.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
requires specific compositions.
I really wish
it-
that more games would implement that kind of system, but at the same time, even if they did implement the system, like with Overwatch, you have damage, tanks, and supports.
Yes.
It doesn't matter because people still don't care about team compositions. They
They-
will play whatever they like playing.
Right. It's just not worth your time, and especially if you're trying to get somewhere in Overwatch. Now, some people they're gonna push ahead and get as high as they possibly can, and maybe even want to go pro or whatever. But I just think it's ridiculous that just people don't care. And when Overwatch started off, it was fine. People actually cared. You get into random matches. It was great.
Well,
Now
I'm
it's just
going to
like,
bring up a point about Overwatch that they just recently added a LFG, a looking for group ability.
Mhm. Yeah.
And they have role call outs beforehand too when you're doing your look for group, your preferred roles. They actually started implementing more systems that would allow people to be more competitive with Overwatch. And
Okay.
it's one of the good things that Blizzard's done with their game. Oh my god. Fucking mute. Jesus Christ. Sorry. I'm kidding.
It's,
Oh no.
I'll say this with a lot of these games, especially the online competitive games, they're always pointing out toxicity this, toxicity that.
Yeah.
But in reality, I think a good chunk of it really doesn't start until you hit the ranked shit.
I mean, it doesn't, but it's just more so nobody cares, and you feel like you're wasting time. So you get in Overwatch, you play a random match, and you want people to care, but they don't talk on the mic, they don't do anything, and it's just like you're the one who does it. That's happened to me. I'll talk on the mic. All right, guys, let's blah blah blah. Just trying to get some energy going, and they can care, and if it's a random name, they don't. But then the ranked match, it's like you're gonna find these people still don't care, and you're just like, well, what is the point?
Or
They
you
can
find yourself in
care.
this situation where half the team's like on 2 or 3 separate different uh, groups
Right.
together, and you're just sitting there by yourself, and you're like,
Yep.
well, shit, what am I supposed to do now? I can't do call outs, I can't do anything like that. I could be like, my ult's up, I need healing. That's about it. That's the extent that you can do with Overwatch with like communication without mics.
Well, like I noticed it on League was that I'd be playing in bot lane with randoms and Jake and that, and my fuck as support because I enjoyed playing support in League for the little bit I did. And
You did off
But-
meta support, to be fair.
yeah, I use Nami because she's a fucking she's a beast.
By the way, they actually changed her to a true support now, by the way.
Thank God, she was a good support. But like, I'd be sitting there like, all right, let's do this with my random ADC, and they're running off into some other fucking lane doing Christ only knows what. I'm like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? And I've had matches where I'd get killed, and then they'd start bitching like, why weren't you blah 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 blah? And I'm just sitting there like, bub, I'm trying to keep them from taking out the tower while you're busy having a circle jerk with yourself in the fucking jungle.
Yeah, that was one of the things I hated, was because I was pure jungle back then too.
Yeah, or even when I ran jungle, asking somebody, hey, can I get a leash? Which is where support and ADC go help the jungler with the first kill.
Oh, well, that's if they go bot lane. If you go top lane, then it's usually the
True.
top laner that's supposed to help you out, or mid laner helping you out. But it's the teamwork aspect in multiplayer games has just been getting worse and worse.
Oh yeah, it has for a while now.
It's definitely gotten worse with battle royale gens being out now.
My
fucking-
problem is Battle Royale is overhyped. It's nothing new.
It's kind of like the zombies.
They talk about
Yeah.
Battle Royale like, oh, it's the newest thing, guys. No, it's
No, it's
really
not.
not. It's been around for years.
You want to know who did it first? For the
I was gonna say there was what else?
Minecraft.
It's literally just
Minecraft started
Minecraft.
the fucking shit because they based a game mode off of the Hunger Games. And
Hmm.
yeah. See,
Yeah, there's definitely a part to that.
like
but they sit there and they act like it's this new hip thing, and I'm like, guys, this has been around a lot longer than you realize. The
Well,
only
they
thing
did,
that's new is the scales.
they did it differently, but if it weren't stuff like PUBG and so on, I don't think we'd see things like Fortnite and Apex Legends and so on. But
I mean,
and PUBG certainly had its problems too, but it wasn't bad. It's just when the hackers get in there, of course, hackers can pretty much ruin anything. Dude, I got a software program that can hack you. Great, man.
cool,
It's awesome.
cool story, bro.
Seriously.
But honestly, like on the lines of battle royale games, I think Apex has done things right. Personally,
Yeah, they just dropped the ball with the updates, and then it's not as. It could be just. It was what was it, the first month it had like ridiculous amount of downloads and whatever, and then they just stopped the updates, and they should keep them going because Fortnite is killing it.
yeah,
Sadly, it
sadly. And here we thought Apex was the chosen one. We thought
Yeah,
Apex
and
was
it's a
going to be the
very-
end of Fortnite finally.
It had potential, but
It still does have potential. It's just they need to still.
they need to get the sticks out of their asses.
Well, it's also because it's Origin and it's Respawn. Like they don't know exactly what they're doing yet. They don't know what they're doing because Respawn did Respawn did Titanfall. And Titanfall was a quick pace multiplayer game. And
Respawn.
what were you saying?
No, I'm not trying to cut you off.
No,
You
that's
can't cut
fine.
everybody off, man. Yeah, Titanfall was. I was just I just wanted to add that it was created by the ex members of the of Infinity Ward, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Infinity Ward.
The
Yep.
ex members of them, and they created Respawn, and they're under the EA tag. But uh, Respawn, hopefully, from what I was reading, they have reign to do whatever the hell they want. Apex Legends was like, oh, this is so cool, and people like it, but
And they
it
also
just needs
use
more up.
parts from Titanfall too.
Mm-hmm,
And
for
there's
sure.
actually coding inside of Apex itself that is directly ripped from Titanfall 2. Like the dropships and jumping out of the dropships themselves from the first start is actually ripped straight from Titanfall 2.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Um, Speaking about battle royales and there being too many of them, zombie games. There's too many zombie games around.
Oh God, is there?
Yeah, some of them are good, some of them are mediocre, some are just too much. I mean, I I enjoyed killing the zombies in what was it, Call of Duty. There's been Left 4 Dead 2, Left 4 Dead 1, of course. That was fun. That, of course, is what, wait for it, a team game where people actually work together as a team. Because if they don't, you die.
Even in
One
the
person doesn't work.
other game modes for Left 4 Dead 2, it required big teamwork too,
Yep, it did.
which I really enjoy the games that require the teamwork and the collective I want to live or I want to win state
Yep,
of minds
and
that you
in
go
that game,
into.
if somebody's dicking around, you can just vote to kick them.
Yeah.
And they can bitch about it, but guess what? Bye bye. We'll find some. I love that. But they couldn't put that in a Blizzard game. Do you imagine all the crying that would go on? I
Oh.
can't
Oh,
Oh.
they already they have vote to
Oh.
kick in WoW, and let me tell you, it is handy, but it is also a pain in the ass.
Oh, is that a case? Oh, I haven't played WoW.
Like if you're in
long
a
time,
looking for
and
group mode,
it's been a while.
you can get vote booted out of stuff. There's been times where it's bullshit. Like I've been vote kicked out of dungeons and whatnot for literally shit I didn't even do,
Lame.
or because
Yeah,
people
that
are
could-
stupid. But ow.
About the zombie games too is some of the battle royales. PUBG actually is actually implementing a zombies mode into it because
Oh,
so the thing about that is too, like on the mobile version of PUBG, there's a zombies mode that's AI, whereas on the PC version, the zombies are actually players, and it used to be a fan made mode by Stone Mountain 64, who set up rules for it. And PUBG recently was like, hey, we like that idea. Let's grab that and put it into our mobile game. Make that a little bit more fun.
Oop.
What other zombies games is there around right now?
Dying
well,
Light. What's that one that's supposed to
Dying
be set
Light
in
is pretty cool.
Washington?
Well, of course,
Division?
there's a Walking Dead mobile game, of course.
Are you
that I
talking
guess
about
quite-
the Division?
The
Me, no.
Division doesn't have zombies.
There's one that was coming to the PS4, I believe it is. You can literally guide hordes of zombies through shit. You can run them into enemy camps.
Days
World
Gone?
War Z?
Yeah, I think it's Days Gone.
Days Gone. Oh, Days Gone. Yeah, that's a all single player game.
That's a single
it's
player
just-
game too that
Mm-hmm.
was
To me,
hyped up.
it feels like they're beating a dead horse with the zombie genre.
They
World,
are.
World
We've
War
got
Z.
so many different zombie games. It's not even funny.
So the thing about World War Z and Days Gone is they are both zombie horde games, which the whole entire premise is you got huge ass zombie hordes that you have to defend against. Kill them all, collect the loot from them, rinse and repeat. And Days Gone was this hyped up game for since 2016, and it's not been. It's anticlimactic.
It hasn't. It's weird because it didn't get received well by the critics, but people who have bought it, and it's doing very well on sales, are enjoying the game. So it's really interesting. I haven't bought it yet. I didn't want to pay $60 for it. I may buy it when it's cheaper, but I was hoping we could do a lot of cool things like craft this and make that. But the game seems to be more focused on your motorcycle. How Deacon, I think, is the main character. I
I
can't
don't remember.
remember. I thought it was. I think that's right. I can't remember. And he's upset about. He doesn't know if his wife is alive or dead or whatever. But I a lot of things that I read on it, just the critics were ripping on it. Yet a lot of people bought the game and they were enjoying it. So I may be like, oh, because usually I just look at reviews and especially people I admire and so on that I like to read, and it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. But no, a lot of people like the game, and the sales are doing well for Days Gone, and
There's
I
music going
guess
on?
it's a pretty
What?
cool. Yeah, you can check the sales recently. Days Gone is selling.
Uh, apparently there's music going on in the background. What?
What is it? Music?
I don't have
Uh,
any music playing.
no. Did somebody else? Oh,
I'm looking at
oh,
my feed right now, and apparently there's music overpowering the mic. Uh, I don't have any music playing in the background at all. I don't know
I
what
don't.
you're talking
Strange.
about.
It's all gone to hell. Can they still hear us, or is it just?
Apparently, we were pretty quiet. Uh, I don't know what music you're talking about though. I don't have any playing in the background. I left the
Uh
music
oh.
off. Uh, Thank you for letting me know though. I'm gonna look into it.
How long
Um,
has this been going on for? Well, there might be some stuff we'll have to cut. Has this been going for the whole time?
yeah, I would like to know how long this has been going on. If there is actual music. No, you said there's music going on, and I'm like, what music? Get nothing going. Uh, Music going on for about a minute or two. What? Okay.
Oh, I don't.
Okay. I don't know. I'll have to check back on the recording and see what I did. Um. Do. Fuck! I forgot my train of thought is going on.
It's good, man. It's all good. It's fine. We
We
were
actually
talking
have
about
a yeah, and also I was looking through our topics that we've been hitting on, and I have a title here: Tall Tale. Uh,
yes, Telltale. Yes.
is it my mic that is pretty low? I like my mic is like
No.
pretty high right now with its sensitivity. It's mostly because my setup right now I'm using purely a what do you call it? I'm mostly using a headset mic, and it's not working properly. It's a pretty old mic. Oh, right there. Okay, sweet. Thank you for all the help. Um,
It's good. Okay. Well, it's the first
Distractions.
podcast.
First
Technical
podcast.
difficulties.
Eh, as expected.
Technical difficulties.
It happens. Um,
That's
what
what
about
editing's for.
what about Tall Tale? Like, I don't know what's going on with them.
Telltale is dead. They're literally everything is dead. Everything is being wiped from Steam. From you can still find some of the Telltale games on Amazon. Everything is being wiped because they made some terrible financial decisions and it burned them. And I can't remember all the details right now, but they're done. What's weird is every game that they did from The Walking Dead, which was really great, and especially that ending. That if you don't have tears in your eyes after that, or if you don't care, then you won't. But if you do, and you're not expecting it, it's like fucking hell. But the second one wasn't as good as the first one overall. It was still an enjoyable experience, but there were some episodes that were, this is not all that.
Oh
But
yeah, the
after
majority
that,
studio closure. Oh
yeah,
shit.
yeah, after that, their games just weren't as good. I may still pick up like the Guardians of the Galaxy one. I think that'll be fun. I heard some good things about that. It's cheap. And then the Wolf Among Us people really liked.
Oh yeah, what happened to the Wolf Among Us? Like, I was
I don't
following
know,
that,
man.
and then it's just dropped off.
The first one's very good. I don't know. Did they make a sequel? I can't even remember. I have to go look that up. I don't think they might have. I'm not sure. But Telltale's also did the Batman game. This was
Which
was
one?
free.
Both of them? Arkham Knight, or
It was just the episodic one. No, it was an
Ah.
episodic Batman, and it wasn't. It was all right. At times, it was okay. It wasn't great. It had some problems.
There's always
was slow
problems
at
with
times.
games.
Yeah, it was slow at times, and it just didn't. Some of the episodes weren't as interesting. And it's just like, oh, but there was some cool stuff, especially his relationship with Catwoman and the Harvey Dent thing was pretty cool. I mean, it's not bad. It was pretty good. I watched my brother.
There's 5
I think I
episodes
finished.
of Wolf Among Us.
Okay.
So I think they actually did finish off the actual storyline itself. But,
Yeah.
like, I haven't heard about that game in forever, and it's kind of sad because from what I remember, it was a pretty good game.
Yeah. Then they did their last one. Of course, is they did the one of Michonne.
Stranger Things?
And then their last one was I think Walking Dead season 3 or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
it'd be
the-
season 3.
Final.
I think that's their last game, and that's it. But they're being pulled off everywhere. They're just being pulled because their Telltale's is dead, and it's too bad. But it's Square Enix can just take it up with stuff like Life is Strange. I don't know if you guys played that. Very
Yes.
highly recommend it. The first one is very good. The prequel wasn't bad. I watched my brother play it. There's some things about it that just weren't as interesting, but Life is Strange is the relationships, a lot of different things about that game, and I actually streamed that game on Twitch. It's quite popular. People
Twitch
enjoy
plug.
watching it. I know, right? Twitch plug. Yeah. I just had to mention that. It's just funny.
Nah.
But,
I don't blame you.
I had a really good time with that game, and that game got dark. And
Yeah,
they dealt with some serious issues that you're like, what the fuck?
I have no opinions on WoW Classic, but I do believe somebody
I
in
got
here.
unpopular opinion for that.
Go ahead, fucking.
This is going to
Hit
be
it.
I read this off of a tweet that somebody shared, and this is going to be a prime example of people not wanting what they think they want.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I'm hopeful because it's going to be good. It's going to be it's going to be harder than hell. It's going to be a grind, and that's what I want.
Something. It's got to be good. Blizzard lately has just been. I don't know if it's because it's Activision and Blizzard, but did you guys buy
Oop.
Diablo 3 or
Whoa.
something like?
What was that?
What happened?
Nothing. You guys keep going on.
Okay, the gameplay nugget was, it was really good, but the base story of Diablo 3 was like, "Arr!"
Thank you.
Oh
Sergey,
man,
for
the base
follow.
story was fucking toilet paper.
and then that woman who nobody wanted to died. I won't spoil it. I get that. That game's been out for what, 5 years now.
Shit, it's been out a long.
It's just Blizzard, like, that's why Classic WoW. It's like people are excited about it. I said, excited. Oh, great, but oh, you're just
Like-
being negative. It's like, but this is what you're seeing now. Blizzard is not. Excuse me, StarCraft. What has happened to StarCraft? The esports scene, StarCraft 2. It's just, it seems to be dead. They don't talk. You don't hear about it anymore.
Nugget just
It was
wants
huge.
to embarrass the casuals on WoW Classic.
Like, I like the idea of classic.
Yeah, it should be great. It should be back to vanilla, where people were really excited about WoW when it first came out. But
I'm still
WoW
on the
was
fence
the
of WoW myself.
yeah. I don't know. I just got bored of WoW. It just didn't have the PvP that I was looking for. Of course, I came from a Korean grind game called Lineage 2 back in the day, and that had the best open world PvP I've ever seen. It's even with all the nonsense that went on from people cheating and whatever, it still had great open world PvP. It was really well.
Mm.
And I wish that that's what WoW had. Like, I want to take property. I want to tax the villages. I want to take the castle. And I know we were talking about this the other day, McNugget and I, and they had that starting with Burning Crusade. Like, I know that's still in the game where you can take a castle, but nobody cares. And I
I'm going to
think
interrupt you real quick.
it
We
would
got
have been
7 minutes left.
all right. 7 minutes.
Shit.
Doom, 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 doom.
So, if there's anything you guys want to hit on before we finish up, because we pretty much hit everything on here.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I take that back.
Nope.
While we're on the topic of World of Warcraft, what about other MMOs? What happened to them?
They just got old and stale to an extent, and they just didn't.
But what about like
in my
Guild Wars or other MMOs that
Guild
have
Wars
been-
2.
opinion,
Honestly,
is pretty cool. It also had that
it's
aspect, but I don't know. I just thought,
for that
I'll
game.
give that.
They've kept themselves relevant.
relevant.
And
I
it's-
don't have any opinions on ESO. I'm so sorry. Oh Jesus, spams ESO, EverQuest, RuneScape. RuneScape brought it back with RuneScape.
RuneScape's still going.
Yeah, they brought back
It's-
RuneScape Classic now. By the way.
They've revamped themselves and remodeled themselves to be able to try and compete. Elder Scrolls Online started out bad and shit the bed, but they eventually brought it to something that's actually decent. They have
Yeah.
a lot of cool shit that Blizzard could take points from, like, I don't know, player housing.
People
Guild Wars 2 has guild housing.
Oh, does it? Did they add that finally? Nice.
Yeah, they have a guild hall that literally is fucking massive.
Nice. Yeah, the
Which
guild halls.
we need to get back into Guild Wars 2 and fucking work on shit. By the way, Nugget.
Yeah,
like,
I might be.
That game is amazing. The storyline's great. There's the mounts are actually utility in the fight in game. They're actually worth the shit to go after.
You can actually do like bosses or like raids, small
World
little raids
bosses.
with people. You do world bosses. People, at least in the server I was on when I played, people actually like died in a dungeon. They're like, "Oh, let's get back up and finish this." It wasn't like, "That's it, I'm done. It's over. I can't do this again."
Honestly, I actually have become partial to playing Guild Wars 2 over World of Warcraft because of the whole entire aspect that even the randoms that you join in on dungeons and stuff, if you get wiped, they're like, okay, we got wiped. Let's try again. We know
They're not like, "Oh, you all fucking suck. Kill yourself." Blah blah blah. Like, all right, guys, let's see where we went wrong here. You know, they actually take the time to stop and look at, like, okay, was it mechanics that killed us? Was it somebody stepped in the shit that they shouldn't have stepped in?
did we time the cooldowns wrong? Da 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 da. This, like, Guild Wars 2 is probably one of the better MMOs I've messed around with. I'll be honest. World of Warcraft has had ages to fucking mature their shit, but it's not necessarily user friendly. Whereas, like, Guild Wars 2
Right.
is because they simplify everything in Guild Wars.
But it
Yeah.
still has its own level of difficulty.
It
It
Now
does.
they simplify it and they watered it down too much. Like, one of the biggest complaints by people, "Oh, the game's too easy," which is going to be one of the biggest complaints in that vanilla server, is that it's too hard.
Probably, yeah.
Like, I don't think people realize that vanilla server is it's going to be 6 months before you hit 60. Probably 6 months after the server comes out, they'll have boosts that you can buy to 60.
It's like it's also going to be a lot of the same quests probably that people may remember or not remember. I mean, what are they going to really do that's going to be amazing that'll bring all these people back? There'll be a grind. There'll be the same kind of quest. Get the spider legs, dude. Get that spider pie. That's an alright quest, I guess. It's funny, and then but yeah, MMOs in general, since we're WoW and so on, and wow, wow. Why
Wow.
it's been wow, yeah, why it's been so popular for all these years is because the PVE content has been there, and that's why people they can keep charging a sub. But I just feel like WoW's gotten stale. Everything, a lot of this stuff. There's a few more MMOs coming back. There's some MMOs that are coming back, like Dark Age of Camelot is coming back. Stuff that people played a long time ago. Someday Star Citizen will be in beta. I
Oh
doubt
my
I'll ever play
god.
it.
Star Citizen is going to be so good when it actually gets released.
If
It's been
whatever
84 years.
it's gonna be like 2 billion years later.
But
Um,
like honestly, on the topic of Star Citizen is they're doing so much work for it because they're working with the community. They're talking to the community, getting everything.
well, I would hope so, man. Considering all the problems it had, and people were gonna get sued, and I had a friend who spent like thousands of dollars on ship, and he didn't like the way the game was going, and he was just like, I sold a lot of those ships. I have a ship that has lifetime insurance. I'm just not ready to try it in
WoW, it's gotten
alpha.
stale. They
Whenever
finally make an expansion dedicated to PvP. What do you mean? They bring back
This-
classic.
Hold up. My problem is this isn't dedicated to PvP because literally every time I've PvP'd, it's always been run into a gang squad of Horde or run into a gang squad of Alliance and get a gangbang straight to the face. I found better. It's heavily PvP oriented, yes, but I've found better PvP leveling when I run into people around my level than at 120, and it hurts.
All right. Do you guys have any last remarks? I'm going to be bringing this podcast to a close.
all right, yeah, this has been a good experience for sure. I hope we can keep. We can always find topics. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
That's what we need to worry about.
Yeah, that is something that we definitely don't need to worry about. We can.
We can
Oh.
find something.
Yeah.
If not, we can always wait for Bethesda's next patch.
Oh
Our
Jesus.
next topic could be about Star Wars, and we could do like 10 billion hours on just that. And so many
Oh
different-
man, there's been so many games out for Star Wars, so many good ones, and so many that were just complete ass,
Yeah, and sometimes
and some that were cut down before they had the chance.
Yo,
All right. We're going to bring this little podcast to a close. I'm going to actually be working on trying to figure out how to rip the audio, and I'm going to be pushing out these podcasts onto iTunes and on Spotify. So hopefully, once I figure out how to do that and push them out onto those platforms, maybe there will be more people to join in on these streams. So for now, this is our podcast over. We'll see you guys whenever we do the next one. Take care.